I wanted to show you guys something that you can do so that whenever you're predator hunting, you're not doing it just to kill them, but you can also do something useful with it. All right, I've got some hides here that I've tanned. I grew up trapping, but we didn't necessarily tan hides. There's lots of people in Louisiana that can deal with skinning animals and all of that, but I don't know as many that tanned. There's a few, but growing up anyway, we always sold green hides, which means you skinned the animal out and fleshed it and then dried it, right? And that could be rehydrated later and then tanned by some fur trading company. So the fur trade and tanning are two completely different areas. But anyway, decided to try a few this year, and so I wanted to show you something because I didn't know what to get to do it, because I've seen these little orange bottles of deer hide tanning solutions like at Bass Pro and other places, and it seemed like it would work well. But what they mean by wall hanger and something that actually I think is a decent tan is not the same, I don't think. I've seen some of these things and they dry really hard, but so I got this other stuff. I'll show you what that is in just a moment, but I'm going to show you the product first, all right? So got a few coyotes here, and you can see how soft this hide is tanned. Tanned this a month ago or so, and it's very, very soft, and it looks just like soft pliable leather that you would get anywhere. And this was a big male here. It's about 40 pounds, a big one. But I've tanned a few of them, and you can see. By the way, I also have a trapping license, and I caught this fox and did the same thing and same process, and very soft and leathery, very supple. It just lays over your arm. That's what I was looking for, where you can sort of hang it up like that somewhere. You could cut it open and lay it out on the wall, or just drape it over a piece of furniture or something like that. And then same thing, this bobcat, you can shoot them here one a year during legal shooting hours. So we've got a bobcat, and it came out the same way. It's very pretty, it's soft. I don't think it's, in my opinion, as soft as the foxes and and coyotes come out, but I wanted to show you just a couple things that you need to make this happen, because there is sort of a cost to buy in. What I did, you got to have something like this, like a fleshing beam. And this thing it's flat on one side and it's rounded on the other, and the purpose is so that it matches these, like a fleshing knife here. So once you skin it out and you place it on here, you pull all of the whatever's left on the hide off, meat, fat, all of that. Got to have a decent knife to skin with. But anyway, so you skin it and flesh it. Those two things are sort of required. You can probably, if there's some sort of trapping supply near you, I think near me was RP Outdoors has these things. I think they're about $50, which sounds like a lot of money. It's because it is. But with the price of wood being what it is, it's cheaper, I think, to go ahead and purchase the thing than to try to make one yourself, because it's a lot of work. Because this is hardwood. These fleshing knives are about $20. So, you're already in, at this point, $70. But I got this one, I think he gave it to me for like $30 because there were some cracks in it. I just filled them in with wood putty. But the actual tanning agent I'm using is this stuff. I'd never heard of it, True Bond. This is True Bond 1000B. There's a True Bond 1000 and a 1000B. The 1000 is for like a wall hanger. I think it dries a little stiffer. If I wish I had a hide in process right now so I could show you what it does, but once you put this stuff on about every few hours, it says every 12 hours, but I messed with it. If I was just sitting on the couch, I started to get up and come out here and take a look at it, and you could just pull on it. And as you're starting to pull on it, when it's drying with this stuff on it, it just starts to turn white. The look of leather like that, it changes from a dull dark color to a lighter color, and it looks like leather. And once it stretches with this stuff, it doesn't go back. The skin is normally pretty elastic. You can stretch it like a rubber band, but with this stuff on it, it doesn't do that. Once it stretches, it stays where it was. stays where you pull it. Sorry, and you pull it from various different angles until the whole thing is white, and it becomes very supple. It's a lot different than what I've seen before with people doing, because you usually have to tan it, and then you need to break it on something because it dries hard as a board. And so you need to have like a piece of wood or like a sucker rod or some sort of pipe or something, and you have to put it around there and work it back and forth to try to soften it, pop it, work it back and forth, whatever. And the more you do that, the softer it'll get. But I didn't do that with these at all. I just used the tanning solution here, which worked really well. And they sell two other things that you have to have. You don't necessarily have to have these, but you have to have something like them anyway. No harm pickling acid and this liposolve. So this is just a degreaser, by the way. It's just a fur-safe degreaser that will remove fat and particles and things like that from the hide. But the pickling acid is the extremely important part. You can use citric acid, I think, and these guys on their website and everywhere else, it tells you the actual ratios of what you need to mix, but it doesn't require very much. In fact, this pickling acid, if you're thinking about getting some, it goes a long way. I bought this half-gallon here, and I've used a quarter of it. It goes a long way, probably way too much. I bought a gallon of this stuff and probably used about the same. That's pretty good ratios, half a gallon of that and a gallon of this. But anyway, this stuff, the hide has to sit inside this pickling acid with salt, all right? And it needs to sit in there for several days after you flushed it. And then you pull it out and make sure there's nothing left on it that you could scrape off again. If there is, you have to pull that off, throw it back in there, and you leave it in there for about a day. And you take it out, drain it for 30 minutes or so, and then you have to put it inside of a heavy solvent with water in order that it will remove any sort of grease or fat or something like that. It removes it from both sides, the fur and from the hide itself. But if there's fat on it, the tanning solution can't go in. So you have to remove that. And you just soak it in there for 5 or 6 hours. Again, very good instructions on their website. And after it comes out of that, it's just salt and baking soda. And the purpose of the baking soda is to neutralize the acid that you've been soaking it in for several days. And that acid needs to be neutralized in order that the tanning solution will actually work. All right. So you can look up the process on why this works and what's going on with the actual hide. But the process is fairly simple as far as being able to explain it, not so much chemically. All right. So you can look that up yourself if you like. But really, you're having to displace the water from inside the hide, and the acid and salt goes in. And because what happens if you have just water, this stuff will not soak in. It just won't pass through the cell membrane. But with this stuff in there, it's inside of the cell, and it displaces the water. And once it's in there, this salty solution, you place it in the neutralizing solution, and there's some salt in that too. And it just kills the acidity, but the saltiness is still in there. And so whenever you put this on, this stuff moves across that cell wall. They sort of trade places, and the hide dries out again. And what you're left with is a little bit of oil that goes inside. And that's why the hide is sort of supple and soft. But anyway, this stuff works. I'm impressed with it. So if you're looking to try to do that, either with predator hides, or even if deer hunting or something like that, and you want to preserve the hide, I would suggest using that. But one big caution here, the big thing that you need to make sure that you have is removing all of the bits that are on the hide. If you don't do that, you're going to have a problem, right? And there were a couple places where I did leave some stuff on there and didn't notice it really until right after I began to tan it, because those places wouldn't pull until it was completely dried. But what I did is used a little die grinder with the Scotch-Brite pad after the fact and just sort of sanded over it, got it off. It was all over with. And you can also just sand it with a normal sander or sandpaper. You can use a wire wheel if you're familiar enough with it and you're good enough with it so that you don't tear it. But anyway, this worked really well. The other thing was that people are concerned with these things is smell. And it concerned me too, because I have all all this foam in here. And so what I did though was I went and bought a bag of cedar bedding, and so I'll just show you. I just slung it all over the floor in here, right? And once it's all over the place in here, every time you walk it sort of smells like cedar, and if anything falls or drops on the floor, it's fine. You can just sweep it all up and get rid of it. And the last piece of advice I have for you, if you'd like to do that, is a way to skin them out. It's not fun to mess with predators like just on a table like that, because the tail is a pain if you're trying to do that, and trying to hold the thing still. And so you really want to gambrel like you do for deer, but the ones for deer are too wide. You can pick up one like this. Now that's one for a deer up top, but this little piece here is about $8 or $10, and it works really well. It holds them really well. And if you find yourself with holes in it because you shot it all up, you can get a little leather sewing kit. They're like $6 or $8, and it comes with tons of stuff. There's a container full of about 12 needles there, and there's a bunch more here, different sizes, and it's got 7 or 8 different colors of thread, and it seemed to work really well. You should probably do this right before you do put the tanning solution on, by the way. So if you have a hole in it that you want patched up, you sew it up from the skin side, but the fur inside, and you sew it up about a quarter inch apart. Just make a stitch like you would if you cut your arm. Make some stitches on there, and then apply the tanning solution for the final drying. Anyway, I think there was something else I wanted to share with you, but I can't recall now. But if you got any questions about that, maybe you're even in our area, I can help you with understanding what to do. I didn't know that much about tanning. Again, I trapped. We had tons of fur that I handled when I was younger, right? But I didn't really tan too much. I remember messing with it a little bit, but this is a bigger operation. And by the way, coyotes are tough to deal with. Lastly, these little crates down here, these little buckets, that's what I have the tanning solutions in, and I had some ready just in case I go out and I get something and I'm going to go ahead and tan that one because it looks cool or something like that. And I have the solution ready, that way I can skin it and chunk it straight in there. Some people tell you have to salt them first. None of these are salted first, and they're fine. There's no hair slippage, anything like that. It works well just to put them directly into that brine. It is a brine bath already, all right? Because if you put salt on them, you're going to have to rehydrate them and prepare them to be able to put back inside of that salt and pickle bath anyway. So if you have it ready, then you can just put it straight in there. Makes things a lot easier, especially if you're going hunting and coming back at midnight and then trying to skin something out and then having to salt it and all the rest. If you can just chunk it in there and weight it down, it works really well. All right, that's it, guys. Any questions? Get back with me, let me know.